we play a game?
Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Getting geeky in your podcast. It's Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for pressing play. This week, as always, we've got a fun episode on a cool topic. This time, we're going to be delving in to the nebulous, dark, murky history of 50 years ago. It might as well be it might as well be the dawn of time when it comes to RPGs. It's about as far back as you can go with tabletop RPGs, other than the creation of Dungeons and Dragons itself. So, joining me this episode is returning guest Bill Barsh of Pacesetter Games. What's going on, Bill?
How's it going, Shane? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, always enjoy the conversation. So, tell us a little bit about what you do for those that haven't heard you on here before with Pacesetter Games.
Sure. A little pre-warning. I am down in Florida, and we are right now getting blasted by one of our summer Sunday afternoon thunderstorms that we get here on the daily. So it's coming. So if you hear something in the background, it might be perfect atmospheric sounds for what we're going to talk about. But yeah, it shouldn't be a big deal other than that. We honestly, knock on wood, never lose power here. So, but anyway, so Pacesetter Games is we're a company that produces mostly adventures for Dungeons and Dragons and a couple other RPGs, including DCC, which has been a long time since they've done a DCC adventure, and Swords and Wizardry, for example, stuff like that. But mostly D&D. And we are celebrating right now. We are just about hit year 18. So we've been around the block for a while, a few times. And, but that's pretty much our thing is Dungeons and Dragons. And, we're going to be branching out a little bit, but that's not for this show. We're real excited because we're basically the IP holders for Palace of the Vampire Queen, which,
that's right. That's
celebrating 50 years of D&D. Yeah.
That's our main topic today. We're definitely going to get to that. So Palace of the Vampire Queen is the first published module.
Published adventure module for D&D. Yep.
For D&D, which basically means it was the first published module for tabletop RPGs, period. If I understand correctly. And that was right. And we're definitely going to get into that. I want to camp out a little bit with you on Pacesetter.
Sure.
Just for the people that don't know what you do. So, you publish stuff for 5th edition. You also have the BX RPG.
Yes. We have actually a tiny bit of news on that too. We are the 3rd edition. It's basically a remastering of that entire set is gonna go live here in about a week. We're not kickstarting it or anything like that. We're just gonna put another launch out of it. It'll be available through our regular website and drive-through. And mainly because we're big supporters. Like I say, we publish for 5e. We actually we've been publishing again for almost 18 years now. We're mostly an old school company that has done a lot of 5e stuff. And the other news I will kind of drop, which we haven't really made too public, is we pretty much stopped 5e publication about a year ago.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean we're stopping forever, but for now, we're not doing any of our products in 5e.
It's not your focus right now.
No, it's the markets. I mean, look, we can talk about business end of this and all that, but the business end of Dungeons and Dragons in the 5e space is a train wreck right now, and there's no point in us investing resources into that. It's not a dead game, and I don't want to say it's a dead game. There's a lot of people out there playing D&D 5e in 2014 and 2024, but there's also a lot of people who are not, and a lot of people are not buying 5e material. We've noticed that not just us, anecdotally outside. We've seen it. We talked to other publishers. There's a reason why most of us in this space have either gone to another system or created our own system. You see a ton of people out there moved into Shadowdark. You see a couple of the big boys Cabal Press come out with their game. You've got the Daggerheart game from the Critical Role people. People just everyone's kind of sees the writing on the wall, and they're kind of branching out. So, and we're no different. We're coming out with our version called it's not a 5e clone, by the way, but we're coming out with a version of Dungeons and Dragons we call Dungeon X, and it's basically a kind of taking everything out of it's looking at D&D across 50 years and taking the best out of every system, and kind of molding a new game out of it. It does have some modern mechanics. It uses ascending armor class, and we have disadvantage and advantage and that kind of stuff. But and that's going to be out at the end of the year this year, just because it's time for Pacesetter to have our own unique version of Dungeons and Dragons. We feel like, and it is just, we call it that. It is Dungeons and Dragons, and it's not a clone of BX, which we kind of have that with again, you mentioned it, the BX RPG is our semi-clone, more like a cousin of BX D&D, which is still very popular, by the way. When
you go to cons like, for example, North Texas RPG Con, which is a old school focused con, even though you'll see new games being played there, you'll see a lot of people playing BX, like the original Basic Expert. Yeah, they'll just pop their rule books out and off they go. It's just a very popular system. So I would argue it's more popular than. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go talk over.
No. It's just that we've always produced stuff for it since day one till today. If we produce a product, there's always going to be a BX version of it, and we have an amazing amount of Pacesetter supporters, which are always in our BX stuff, and
that's good.
It's still super strong and popular. And about 6-7 years ago, we decided that we would put out a version of BX, just because, again, the original books, were getting hard to come by, that kind of thing. And we've continued to support it. We told our Kickstarter backers back in the day we would support it, and we're doing so. So
I don't know if you can see there, but that's my copy right there.
Oh yeah, there it is.
I don't know if that'll show up or not on the camera to you, but so just so people know, since this is an audio podcast and I can't hold something up for the video, so when we say BX versus BX, okay, so there's B/X, which is the basic, and then expert rules for D&D way back in the day.
So basically the Mulvey rule book and the Cook Marsh rule book. Yeah.
Right. Very popular. Then you had BECMI, which is basic, expert, not.
It goes all the way through Immortals. And
that's different.
It is different, right. But some people I'm sure out there love to crucify me when they hear this. Essentially, if you take Holmes all the way through Black Box, that is essentially the same game. Yes, there are. Holmes has got some significant differences from when the Cook Mulvey set comes out, and then BECMI and Rule Cyclopedia, and then the Black Box sets. But those are essentially almost the exact same game. I know people love to split,
the hairs
on stuff. Yeah. But, oh my gosh, they use the same combat charts, the same saving throw charts. The experience charts are almost universally the same. And you can you can take any BECMI module and run it in BX without ever having to make a single change in there. I mean, for the 99.9% of the time. And the players would ever notice, for example. And that, so we call that whole thing classic D&D, and
right,
because it is all basically BX. And BX is is the term we love to associate it with, but it's pretty much all those things. And again, I know there's fan favorites, and I get that, and I understand. I've been playing this game for 50 years, like most of your listeners out there probably, but it's just, we just call it classic D&D. So
that's fine. Yeah, I mean, you can mix it.
But a lot of people do play BX, and I can tell you right now, there's one person in particular, and I'm not a name dropper, who is one of the authors of BX, who carries around our BX RPG rule books and uses them at conventions.
It's just a good reference. Yeah.
Yeah. He uses it for his reference books. So it's pretty cool. It's like a geeky moment for us, for sure.
Yeah.
And you can probably figure that out because,
well, if I had to guess, I would say it was Stephen Marsh, but
it's not.
It's not. Okay, because I know we
other,
both bump into Steven a lot, like at North Texas. So,
although I'm not saying Steve doesn't use it, he has a set.
Yeah,
I just don't know because I never see him running.
You don't know
anything.
if he carries it around.
I don't know if he carries it around, but the other person that we named, and obviously Molday's not alive anymore, so it's the last person.
There you go. All right, so use your process. Use your Sherlock Holmes process.
I don't want to speak for anyone, like I said. I'm not saying it's an endorsement. And
so,
but anyway,
one thing that's interesting to me, and then we'll move on because we do want to talk about Palace of the Empire Queen, Palace of the Vampire Queen, the Empire Queen, Lady Vader. No, Palace of the Vampire Queen. But anyway, so I notice when I'm at retro cons or old school cons or whatever, I see, even though the red box, like everyone fondly remembers the red box that came out in the 80s, basic rules written by Frank Metzer. And then that led to the whole BECMI series all the way up through In Immortals. I see more people playing the original B/X than I do the BECMI stuff.
I would agree.
Yeah, which is interesting because so many people talk about how the red box is what got them into D&D. So I'm not saying that it's a bad system. It's just interesting to me.
I have a theory behind that. I think mostly it's because BX gained a resurgent foothold before BECMI did, and I think, and what you kind of had here is when this gets into a whole other history conversation about when the OSR kind of made its appearance in the scene and made its comeback. A lot of people gravitated to, well, first was AD&D with the Osric book, obviously, but then the next thing to come out was pretty much Labyrinth Lord, which was a kind of a BX clone, right? And I think people gravitated to the resurgence of BX because the age of those people, they started playing D&D with BX, not BECMI. So as the OSR kind of made inroads and grew, I think those were the first people in, and that's just simply why that's the case.
Yeah.
Because logically, you would think it'd be the other way around. BECMI had way more players. BX was around for only 2 years, essentially, barely 3, not even 3 full years as a print product for TSR. BECMI was around significantly longer and had way more reach. But BX is the gold standard, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, and it's also got it doesn't make the rules better or anything like that, but it has those great story-connected covers by Errol.
Oh, yeah, no,
those are so good. Those are so good.
Yeah.
All right, so quick notes on Pacesetter. We'll move on. You have the BX RPG, so if somebody wants,
and I got way off track on that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Quasi. Yeah. No problem.
It's definitely not our major push here. I mean, we kind of have it because we have it and we love having it. But we've got other things in the hopper right now, honestly. So
right. So you got that. You have solo adventures, which I'm a big fan of because when I was growing up, I didn't always have a group around me that was passionate about D&D. So like, to be able to scratch that itch without a group is nice. So
we're passionate about it. We really are. We put out new solo adventures every year. If people aren't aware, just again look us up. You'll find them. We have all kinds of them. I think we've innovated the rules for playing solo D&D. It uses classic D&D. So we have it in 5e also, but we have it in classic. Most of our stuff is that.
Yeah, I like solo adventures a lot.
Yeah, so, a lot of people do, and it's you got to look at exactly what you're saying. First of all, it's great for people who are the forever DM and never get to play.
Right.
It's an awesome resource for that. Not everyone has people like to play D&D, and your group's not always around, that kind of thing. So here's your opportunity to play, and they're real books. They're not. You can obviously buy them digitally, but we prefer you get the physical book. That tactile experience is real when you're playing. A lot of people use it, especially our first level ones, to teach people how to play D&D. It's a great resource for that because you can use, instead of just playing solo, you can use it kind of one-on-one.
Right.
because it's designed. They're designed for, when we say solo adventure, by the way, we mean one player. One player,
right?
character.
Not a DM. That's what I
It's
think
not
of
a
as
DM, right?
a duo, a duet,
It's
or
not a duo.
right?
It's you're playing both, but it's also all of our solo adventures are designed for solo characters. You don't have to roll up an entire party of PCs to go through adventure. No, you're going to roll one character through it. So it's a great tool for that. And we like it so much that we're bringing back Pick-a-Path books. I mean, we're launching 3 of them this month, which, again, a little different than solo adventures, but it's the same kind of concept, right? It's just read your novel and pick your path through the novel, and you can read it multiple times and have different outcomes. So we're super excited about that coming out too.
Nice. Okay, and then you have old school tournament modules, and you have a section here called Pacesetter times Homes D&D. So so if people go to the shop section at pacesettergames.com, you can go to there'll be show notes at shaneplays.com, including how to get to Pacesetter Games, but you can just go to pacesettergames.com and go to their shop section, and you'll see all this stuff. You've been working with Chris Holmes, involved with some of his fathers, and then he's been contributing artwork and other things. So that's really nice.
We have a big that is coming to a head this year too. So at the end of the year, we'll be launching a very large Kickstarter with all of our home stuff that we've produced so far, plus another 2/3 that we've been in production. So instead of doing one book at a time, we're going to launch the whole kit and caboodle coming out here pretty soon, probably the fall time. It's a major project for us, but and again, that's done with Chris Holmes and the Holmes Estate.
Yeah, Chris, great guy. He actually comes on the show a lot to talk about movies. He's a huge movie guy.
Oh, he's a huge movie guy.
Yeah, huge movie guy. In fact, I think our next one we're doing werewolves. I think is our next.
He loves himself some were creatures. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah, he's a movie. We joke around that like he's a curmudgeon, but he's a sweet, lovable curmudgeon.
Yeah,
and he even loves the movies that he hates. So
he does.
Yeah, he'll be like, the joke is, I sat through every filthy, terrible frame of that movie twice. He loves them all. So, and then what I think I read recently that Pacesetter has one of the longest running D&D tournaments, or what is that about?
I don't think we can claim that we're number one at this point, but we're probably number 2. So we've been running D&D tournaments starting at North Texas 3. So this would have been our 15th or 16th year of D&D tournaments consecutive. Old school D&D tournaments at North Texas RPG Con. We also run them at Long Con in Texas, but we're only on like year 5 with Long Con tournaments there.
Yeah, Long Con is popping up as a nice cousin con to North.
Oh,
Texas.
It's great. It's great.
There's a lot of overflow.
It's North Texas light. I mean, for sure.
Right.
But it's got that same feel it's in a solid venue, lots of space, great people, a lot of gaming being played.
Yeah, I'd like to get down there.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. So we've been running D&D tournaments for 16, 17 years. I think the only one that's doing it longer, that's actually active, is there's an organization called NASCRAG that runs tournaments at Gen Con. And they might run them at Origins too. I can't remember. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. I know they're still around and they exist. I just don't know exactly what they do anymore. But I'm going to defer saying we're not number 1. We're probably number 2.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, you'll run multiple sessions of the tournament.
We do.
It fills up pretty quick. Yeah, it fills up.
It sells out in 2 minutes, and I think we're up to running like 6 to 8, depending on the year. I mean, last year we ran 8 rounds of the 8.
That's a lot.
8 first round groups. Yeah. It's a lot for a small convention, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. So, all right. Before I move us over into the main topic, which is Palace of the Vampire Queen, which is its 50th anniversary. Do you have anything you want to promote or anything for Pacesetter?
It's just, I'll go back to it again. We're going to be launching a Kickstarter here. You can already, I think it's on our website. You can find the sign up page. If not, you can look around on Facebook, that kind of thing. But We're doing choose your own adventure books. They're written by myself and my son Ben. Ben's writing most of them, actually. He's a elementary school teacher, so he's been a D&D player almost all his life. So he loves fantasy. He loves Dungeons and Dragons. He grew up reading those books. He grew up playing the game Fantasy Forest, with his sisters, and it was just something we thought, you know what, why not kind of bring these back,
Right.
So we're doing that. We're excited about it. Again, it's out of it's a little bit, on the periphery of what we deal with playing D&D, but I also think it's going to be a great product, great resource, great way to get kids interested in the game. Hell, it's a great thing for 50-year-old men to read. I mean, they're going to be fun. And we're it really inexpensive, and we're, like I said, we're kind of excited to bring that back into our hobby, because it was a big part of it. I mean, for a long time there were a lot of companies producing those choose your own adventure, pick a path style books, and we just thought, heck, let's stick our hand in the fire and see if we can't not burn ourselves on this one, but we're going to give it a shot. We're really
hope it goes well. I see on your Facebook page, you said you have a pretty massive gaming announcement coming soon. 3 pick a path storybooks to kick at classic fantasy adventure style. So do you know when that Kickstarter is going to launch?
Probably 7 to 10 days. It's coming up pretty quick. Yeah.
All right. So we are recording on the 13th of July.
It'll be in the 20s of July sometime.
So there's a good chance that it might launch before I get this out. So, if you remember, definitely send me that link, or if I see it, I'll add it to the show notes. But just like, are you on Kickstarter, or is your account Pacesetter Games, or do you know?
Yeah, it's Pacesetter Games on Kickstarter. So that's the easiest way to find us. And Ben handles almost all of that end of the business. So, but it's I think if you go on Kickstarter now and just
I'm looking
Pacesetter
right
Games,
now.
you'll find us. You'll probably find us. It'll probably pop up the sign up page for it. So, and it is on Kickstarter, not backer kit. So, this one is a Kickstarter project.
All right, and then later in the year, Dungeon X, which is all the best ingredients of D&D.
Yes.
Brewed in one pot. There's 3 witches going boil.
Oh, there is. Yeah,
and they're mixing all the ingredients, and making the ideal version of D&D. So
we've been working on that for almost 4 years now, and we literally ran the tournament at Texas this year, and all of our games, and several other Pacesetter guys who work for us ran all their games using Dungeon X at North Texas in June. So it's in its final stages. It's had a lot of play testing. We put it through the crucible of tournament play, which is, will break any rule system. And we think it came through pretty good.
Right. So, they'll try anything. Yeah. Yep. So, okay. All right. So cool. And I found that the Kickstarter page is actually already up for your choose your own path stories. It's a placeholder where you click notify me on launch.
Yep.
So
That's my sign up. That's kind of what I meant. Yeah, that for sure.
I'll include that in the show notes, and that'll convert.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Kickstarter page. Yeah, you're welcome. So, okay. 50 years ago, which again, tabletop role-playing game is basically when everything happened. Right. You don't go much further back than that. So tell us about Palace of the Vampire Queen.
So I'll put my history teacher hat on. Palace of the Vampire Queen was produced by a company called We Warriors, which is a funny sounding name I get. But, we all have to remember that back in the 70s, most gaming was miniature related or war game related. And that's what We Warriors produce. Their products, they produce more non-D&D products than they produce D&D products, actually. And one of the things that they did, and the people, when I say the company, it was essentially Pete Carriston and his wife, Judy. And Judy has equal writing credits to all this stuff. Now, they produced Palace of the Vampire Queen when they first started playing D&D. Back in 1976 as an adventure module. It was basically a 11 by 17 folded sheet outer cover with, I can't remember how many, 14 or 16 internal sheets, loose leaf, which made up the adventure module, which was put into basically a plastic Ziploc bag. And that's how they were sold. And they produced a couple printings of it and literally sold them out of the trunk of their car or going around to hobby shops and that kind of thing. And most likely probably at Gen Con or Origins. I'd never asked Pete that exact question until TSR kind of said, got wind of it, and TSR said, hey, why don't we distribute these for you? So because TSR didn't believe in adventure modules at the time, but I mean, this is the bizarre thing, right? They're producing Dungeons and Dragons, and they thought there was absolutely no market for adventure modules. So the later printings, the 3rd through 5th, I think there's 5. And again, my memory sometimes gets fuzzy on this. Printings of Vampire Queen were distributed by TSR. So you could mail order it from them, and they would send you a copy of Palace of the Vampire Queen. They didn't own the rights or any of that. They just distributed it for We Warriors. During that 2 or 3 year time period, they also came out with another adventure module called Dwarven Glory and a campaign setting called the Misty Isles. Those are 2 things to kind of that. They're all connected, actually, but it's a lot to get into. So essentially, that's kind of the history of where Palace of the Vampire Queen came from and who designed it. And as you can guess, they were very obscure. I mean, we're talking about them selling several hundred copies of these things, not in the thousands. So later on, as collecting became a thing in the our industry, which that happens in every hobby, people go back and they start looking for the early things that were produced for said hobby. And for us, it was Palace of the Vampire Queen. It was the first adventure module ever technically produced. And it is, if you get your hands on one of those early printings, they're worth quite a bit of money. And if you want to buy one, they're quite expensive.
So any ballpark, any idea? I know Bill Mine.
You're going to for a decent copy, you're probably going to pay anywhere between $1,000 and $3,000, depending on the printing, depending on the condition. All these things have a factor. They typically sell in the $1,300 to $1,800 range, but the market is tough right now because there's the scarcity is so hard with those. They don't come up all that often. And again, it's got to be, you want to make sure it's complete and all the rest of it. So, and if you want that first printing that's complete, you can expect to spend thousands.
Yeah, if you get one of the very original with all the fold outs in the folder and all that,
yep.
It's in decent shape. Yeah, that's going to be your grail here for this.
Yeah.
So for those people that want to nitpick, I've got to throw this out there because somebody's going to come up and go, no, you don't understand. It was okay. So there was an adventure called Temple of the Frog, but that was published as part of the Blackmore expansion booklet.
Correct.
So you had the Blackmore expansion, and then you had an adventure in there called Temple of the Frog.
Right.
So if you want to quibble, you'd say that was the first adventure that was put out for D&D, but it was part of a larger book, a standalone module adventure as we think of them today. It is Palace of the Vampire Queen.
100% correct. Yes.
It's like it's not part of any other. It's just Palace of the Vampire Queen, pre-ready, pre-made, ready to run adventure.
Yeah. Temple of Frog is a loose adventure written by Dave Arneson, and it's in the Blackmore expansion book, digest book from back in the day. From original Dungeons and Dragons, and that is probably technically the first published adventure for D&D. But Palace of the Vampire Queen, again, is the first standalone published adventure module. We're also talking about them coming out within a very close time period. Blackmore, I don't remember when Blackmore came out, 75, early 76, something like that. So it would have been the same time period anyway.
Well, to me, Palace of the Vampire Queen wins the crown because it's a module.
Yes. It's a different beast.
Right.
It's a different beast.
It's a module, like we used to call them. So
Yep.
now they'll say an adventure or whatever, but growing up, we said a module. Yeah. What module do you want to run or whatever? It's interesting. I want to kind of step back. It is interesting that Gary Gygax, every person out there, even the most successful person, can have blind spots. And he just did not consider, because I think he enjoyed making his own campaigns so much that to him, the game was making your own homebrew stuff, right? So to him, it's like, well, nobody's going to want it. It takes away half the fun if you buy something that's ready made. But there was a huge market out there for it. So it's interesting that was a blind spot for him. I think he's even on record as like scoffing at the idea.
For sure. And it wasn't just him. It was everyone at TSR at the time. I mean, no one thought that would go. Now, I have to give Bob Bledsoe Sr. a little credit here, because he also started up Judges Guild back in the day around the same time period. And they actually, right around the same time period, they started producing adventurers or adventure modules, again, prior to TSR ever doing it. It's interesting, and that's kind of when TSR figured out, hey, wait a minute, we can actually make money doing this. And out comes, basically their line of adventure modules. And ironically, they started them at a super high level. Essentially, Hill Giant was their first. So, but yeah, no, it's a cool backstory. It's a cool history. Pete Karaston came to North Texas. Doug Ray invited him. Oh my gosh, it's got to be close to 10 years now, 9 years ago. And Pete came, I don't know the whole details here, and I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't believe, I'm not sure if Pete and Judy are divorced or they're not together. I'm not sure what the dynamic is, but there's, I believe, a split. I'm not 100% sure. I could be completely wrong on this. I know she wants zero to do with D&D, and so does Pete. But Pete came to the convention, as an invited guest. I got to meet him. I had never met him before. And we sat down and we talked for a long time, about all the stuff. And he was just floored that people actually would be interested in Palace and Dwarven Glory and Misty Isles. And anyway, it wound up working out that we obtained the rights for all that stuff. And
so that was a direct. I was going to ask how you got the right.
That's how it came about. And it came again. It wasn't. I sat down with him more as a geek, a nerd, being able to talk to someone who I thought was just, a pillar in our gaming community. And he basically at the end of the conversation just said, hey, I'm never ever going to do anything with any of this stuff. And that's when the conversation went further. And look, he really had no interest in it, absolutely none. And to this, we stayed in contact for a couple of years, and eventually he just kind of moved on. And it's odd because he's not the only one in our industry from way back in the day that did what we consider phenomenal things, that have moved on and really don't care about any of it. That was a part of their life 50 years ago, and they've moved on. I mean, so we just, I just decided at the time, I'm like, this is an opportunity. Sounds like an awful corporate word, and that's not how I mean it. For me, it was an opportunity to bring this thing back to our gaming world, because so many people have no clue what we're talking about. Again, now you do, because we're talking about Vampire Queen, and again, it's the first adventure module. There are so many people that might have heard of it but have no idea the consequence of Palace of the Vampire Queen. So there are a couple things. Not only is it the first module ever put out, it's essentially the first mega dungeon ever put out, because it's 5 levels. And it also had the first big bad boss, the Vampire Queen herself. And these are things that are now, we consider everyday things in Dungeons and Dragons. It wasn't back then. This stuff was groundbreaking. Dungeons were just basically monster hotels. And look, Palace of Vampire Queen's not far from that. I want to be honest with you. But it did have a cohesive idea. It had a story behind it. It's got a big bad boss at the end that you got to fight. These are things that, again, we consider normal everyday D&D today, that someone had to pioneer this. Palace of the Vampire Queen pioneered all this. And, again, I have a really soft spot for it. For me, it's living history of our game. And that's why we're doing what we're about to do with it, which is a massive re-release for the 50th anniversary. Because, we just think the Queen deserves her day, and we're going to definitely give it to her this year. So that's kind of the history of Palace of the Vampire Queen. Again, they're very, very, very hard to come by an original copy. We've done some reprinting of it. We did 2 reprints of it back when we first got the rights. They were limited quantities, like 250, I think. And we haven't. The only thing we've done with it is we've used individual levels to run tournaments in, and we're doing it more, was kind of our subversive way of play testing some things that on the expansion we did. So
when you reprinted it, was it just you had to use OD&D rules? I mean, you printed it as it was, or
no? Yes and no. So our first, I think they both did. So the first printing I know for sure that we did, the first reprint we did, we reprinted all the original contents. So if you want to see what it looked like when it came out, it's in our first printing of it. And we also did an AD&D conversion, so to kind of make it more playable for people, because the OD&D stuff, I'm sorry, I know, again, I don't want to offend any of you OD&D players out there. It's unplayable for the masses of the other 99.9% of us who play D&D do not play OD&D. We play some other version. So we did an AD&D conversion with it. And then I'm pretty sure the second printing, which has a different cover, we pretty much just reprinted the guts. Although I'm fuzzy on it because I haven't looked at it. And again, it's probably been 10 years now since we've done that. And then we held off. And again, we kind of published individual levels as tournaments that we ran through the years. And the reason we did that is because we kind of been holding off to do this 50th anniversary edition, which is, again, we can talk about that later. It's going to be completely massive. But that's kind of the publication history of it. So North Texas also reprinted it because Pete gave him, the year he came, he gave him permission to do a reprint. They ran like 100 digest copies, and that was really it. So we consider that, I think, the 6th printing, and ours is like the 7th and 8th printing.
So so far, has interest mainly been among like people like me who are big into the history of RPGs, or like what kind of interests have you had in
all through the gamut? Honestly, like I said, we've kind of the mission of this is kind of to bring this out to the light more. And again, we've got 5 of the levels that we've done as tournaments. And these tournaments, again, have sold out. We've done most of them at Long Con, honestly, the Palace of Vampire Queen levels, a couple at Texas, or one at Texas, and the other 4, I think, at Long Con. So, but no, we've got people from every aspect of D&D. People have been playing it for a couple of years, from the veterans who've been playing it 40, 45, 50 years, have, all just loved seeing the treatment of it and getting a chance to experience it, because it is, you don't get to experience it every day. It's, again, right. It's not like, you can run out to drive-thru right now and buy a copy of G1, the Hill Giant module, and anyone can play it and read it and that kind of thing. You cannot do that with Vampire Queen. So, and again, it's not set up for that because it was originally written for OD&D, which most people are going to take one look at it and just be almost completely confused what it even is. Because it doesn't look like a D&D adventure module, by the way. It's designed very differently. Although the maps are absolutely gorgeous. They're done by Keith Morneau, who's actually done a lot of comic book work after that. But his talent was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, there's a note. I found a note that the art was by a guy named Brad Schenk, but his pseudonym was Morneau.
That's Morneau. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Morneau. So, the art I've seen of it looks really good for a lot better than what TSR was doing at the time.
It's a lot better what you would think for that time period.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good art. Yeah.
No, it's incredible.
So the only review I've seen of it so far, I don't think it was a fair review, because there was a guy who wrote a book in 2023 and he was looking at it through that lens, and all of his complaints about it basically just sound like a list of what adventures were like back then.
Correct.
They were adventures. Yes. They were dungeons to survive and solve. There wasn't a lot of, like you said, meta narrative or whatever. No, it was like, can we figure out the dungeon? Can we survive the dungeon? If you're playing a tournament, how many points can we get, by doing smart things or stuff that's on the list that the DM's looking for to assign points for? It was quite different. He was like, this guy's like, the monsters just sit in the room and don't move around. They just wait for you to come to them. And it's like, well, that's what dungeons were like back then.
The context is important, right, Shane? So it's all about that. And look, to criticize, it'd be fair to look at it today and say, oh, it's not that exciting of an adventure. It's just a bunch of monsters listed in different rooms. There's 5 levels of it, and you got to get to the vampire queen at the end. Yeah, and honestly, but again, that's also slightly unfair. There are some narrative plot elements to it. There's some tricky things in there. There are some things that happen on one level that do affect things on another level. Is it as detailed as what we come to expect in a modern D&D adventure? Absolutely not. But again, this was a groundbreaking thing. No one had any idea how to even write an adventure module in 1976. Right? When you do something for the first time, you're truly doing it for the first time.
This is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And to look at it with any other lens is completely unfair.
Right.
But I've heard the same thing. It's like, oh, it's just a list of, I'm not impressed. It's just a list of rooms with monsters in it and some treasure. And I'm like, yeah, it's more than that, to be fair, but it's also not a lot more, to be fair.
Right.
But my goodness, you cannot just, it's like looking at a black and white silent film from 1922 and saying, where's all the special effects? Right. I mean, come on. Let's be real.
No, I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. It's not fair, in my opinion.
And what they had to work, by the way, what they had to work with. And again, the OD&D people out there are probably going to think I'm an OD&D hater. I'm not. But let's be real. Look at those OD&D books, and you tell me how easy those things are for anyone who hasn't been taught how to play D&D would even understand what those things are. Okay? Those are the tools they had to write this adventure.
Right. There was, I don't know if you ever listened to the Save for a Half podcast or not, but I
listen to it every time that comes out.
So they did a review within the past couple of years. Somebody took and just reorganized the OD&D rules and to make it more readable. Right. Yeah. And they were like, this is a game changer, because even like Jim Wampler, who's like, he's old school, it's like, even he was like, okay, this makes OD&D playable now because the rules are organized in a way where I can find stuff and do. So yeah, OD&D, is super important because of its place in history, but it wasn't written well. It wasn't organized well.
Oh, it's a hot mess. I mean, it's a hot mess. And I don't know, like I said, it deserves its place in the pantheon of I'd be hypocritical if I said what I just said about Vampire Queen if I'm not going to say the same thing about OD&D. Nobody had the template of how to write a role-playing game when OD&D came out. So it was trial by fire, and let's put this out and see where the chips fall. And look, the chips fell, and a few years later, we get first edition AD&D, which is, I look, to this very day is a pinnacle of tabletop role-playing games. I know people would probably argue with me, or there's plenty better, whatever. I understand, but context is important. If we look what came out of those original digest D&D books in 1978 and 1979, 77 for the Master Manual, it's incredible, right? Leaps and bounds. Same thing happened with adventure modules. You had to have the first one, and the first one was going to make and mistakes isn't even the right word. It's just going to say, here it is. How can we get better?
There
And
was no
that's what
template to
those
follow.
did.
There's no
Yeah.
template to follow to go, oh, well, somebody else has already solved this problem to know how to best do this. So
Yeah.
here's how the Save for Half podcast put it. They said one of the biggest complaints about the original D&D is that it's difficult to understand because of layout and order. Not to mention it frequently refers to stuff in chainmail, which is sold separately. So, if you take off the rose-colored glasses, it had its problems. So they've got an entire episode. I'll link it in the show notes since we're talking about OD&D a lot.
It's a great episode. I definitely remember listening to it. And it's absolutely true, right? I mean, someone's got to take the first steps, and not every first step is going to be the perfect step. Anyway, 50-year anniversary. We're super excited for it. You're going to see a lot come out of us again with the tournament we ran in Texas this year to kick it off. The kind of an anniversary party was Blood Tower, the Vampire Queen.
How did that go?
It went great. Again, the tournament sold out in minutes as usual. We ran 7 or 8 sessions of it. I think everyone had a great time. I was not the only GM. We have multiple GMs doing the tournament nowadays. So I think it went really, really well. We're real happy with it. And that's kind of our kickoff into the second half of the year is when we're going to be doing most of the Vampire Queen stuff. So
I think it's super important that you bumped into Pete, or not bumped into him, but met him at that North Texas RPG Con so many years ago.
Yeah.
Because if you hadn't have, it sounds like that this very incredibly important piece of tabletop RPG history, not just D&D history, would just be laying fallow somewhere.
And that, yeah, well, okay, I can't say that for sure because Pricey Media also has purchase rights to reproduce original We Warrior stuff. So you can get, I think they're on drive-through. So if you want to get a copy of the original Pass of Vampire Queen, you can get a legal PDF of it through them, I think, on drive-through. So he kind of followed up, and we're actually kind of combining with them when we do our big Vampire Queen Kickstarter later this year. I don't want to say that for sure, but odds are certainly no one will be doing what we're doing with Vampire Queen for sure. It's one thing to reproduce, to just get a copy of the original and reproduce it. Obviously you have to be purchase the rights to be able to do that. But it's another thing, I think, to do what we're about to do with it, and we're not, we're reproducing it is great.
And it's that I mean, that's the kind of things that keeps it not just available, but in discussion
and alive. So right. So the big thing with us is, again, we're going to be doing. We're really blowing it up. And one of the things I did talk to Pete Kersten about it, the Vampire Queen, it was the first in the series. There was Dwarven Glory right behind it, came out a year later, and then the Misty Isles was their campaign setting, and the Vampire Queen herself is a major player in the campaign setting. So, that's kind of what we're bringing to life here with our project with it.
So you're trying to bring all the We Warrior stuff, kind of.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
and eventually it'll all come out. Yeah. And what we're doing, again, we're not just reprinting it. We are bringing out for contemporary use. So when we do our Kickstarter, Vampire Queen is going to be available. I guess it's kind of an announcement. It's going to be available in a Shadow Dark rule set. So we have not done a Shadow Dark product yet. So this will be our first. We talked to Kelsey Dion, who is the designer, and she is super excited that that's going to be a thing. And that was a rule set we chose because of the atmospherics of Shadow Dark, right? It kind of lends to Palace of Vampire Queen in a lot of ways. We'll also have a Dungeon X version of it, and we're still deciding whether we're going to do a classic D&D version also. We probably will. We're probably leaning at this point 80-20 that we are doing a classic D&D version. So the Kickstarter, you'll have 3 different rule set versions that you can purchase.
But based on what you mentioned further, you're probably not going to mess with the 5e version.
There will not be a 5e one at this time. It'll probably never be up.
That's fascinating to me, Bill.
Yeah, it'll probably never be a 5e version, honestly, because 5e is not going to exist in 2 or 3 years. So
here's why that's fascinating. I mean, I like talking to business side of things, and you always have really good business insight. So it's fascinating to me that 5e has gone from, if you're not publishing 5e, you're probably not selling anything, of any quantity, to it's not even worth messing with. So that's fascinating because for a while it was the edition that could do no wrong.
And this is if anyone out there wants to do the research, knock yourself out, but go just track 5e Kickstarters over the last 3 years. And I'm not talking about Kickstarters by some YouTube guy that's got 30 million followers. Okay, that's not fair. You can't look at those people and say, "Oh, well, look over here." That's not real.
You're talking about the indie small press.
We're talking about the third-party publishers.
Third-party publishers, better way to put it. Yeah.
If you look, they're either not doing them at all, or if they are doing them, you're getting a number of backers in the sub 200 range, where 4 or 5 years ago you were doing 1,500 to 2,000 backers at least. Okay, so you're not talking about a fall off. You're talking about a meteoric crash.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's amazing that the edition that could do no wrong isn't just naturally tapering off as time goes on. It's literally like crashing.
So the distinction I want to make is I don't think it's that people aren't playing 5e. I think a ton of people are still playing 5e.
They're just not buying new 5e.
They're not buying 5e. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact is, look, I don't have a lot of inside knowledge on this. I have some. There is going to be a new version of Dungeons and Dragons in the next 3 years. It's not going to be next year. Probably won't be the year after that. But you can pretty well be assured you're going to see an entirely new version of Dungeons and Dragons inside 3 years. And if that doesn't happen, whatever, come back and call me. But I'm virtually positive at this point from what people I've talked to. So I just don't think people want to invest in a 5e product at this point because they know something's coming. And look, I'm not the only person that's going to say that. There's plenty of people out there who are saying the same thing. Most of us are saying it at the bar at a convention, not on a podcast, but I don't have any problem saying it on a podcast. So I think it has a lot to do with it. And look, again, we've been doing this for almost 18 years now. We know what's going on. We talk. We have a lot of friends in the industry. Right. We're not the biggest company. We're also not the smallest company. So we're kind of in a unique spot at Pacesetter. And that's where that's going. So it's not that we don't want to. So I want to be clear on that. It's not that I have anything against modern D&D. I don't. I think 5e, when it came out in 2014, is an absolutely phenomenal game. I think what it turned into and what Wizards wound up doing with it was a tremendous disservice to the game itself. And then they changed the entire aesthetic of the game. I mean, look, if people want to think back, and again, I'm getting way sidetracked, I know that, but if you look back at when 2014 D&D came out, 5e came out, they heavily pushed that classic D&D aesthetic game style with their game. They were coming out with, saying, hey, we're coming out with these products. We're reprinting some of these classic TSR modules in 5e format. Wizards was reprinting the 1E books. I mean, they wanted that style of gameplay to be attached to 5e, however you want, whatever side of the fence you're on. That's not what wound up happening as the years went on. And I don't want to get into all the reasons it did. We'd be talking for hours. But the game changed. Wizards made some missteps, did a lot of brand damage to themselves and to the game. And they're going to have to figure things out, and they know they have to figure things out. 2024 D&D is a commercial disaster for them. So you are going to see something new, and there's a reason that they've started talking to some other people in the classic space. And again, I don't do a bunch of name dropping, but it's out there. Easy to find that they're looking to kind of rebrand D&D in a way. So, and you're going to see 6e D&D in 3 years. And so I'm not saying we'll never produce for Modern Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just saying we're not going to do it right now.
Right now. And that's fine. Yeah. It's got a, business decision. You got limited resources. So, it's just fascinating to me. I'm not even commenting on, I've played a lot of 5e, a lot. Ran probably my longest group ever through 5e. So I'm not going to comment on whether 5e is good or bad. I'm just going to say it's fascinating that it's not tapering off. It's, plummeting off. So that's fascinating.
Again, I want to be clear. Yeah, it's definitely the commercial. And I don't necessarily think people playing it's falling off is bad. Look, we go to game conventions, we talk to people, and again, we've sold a lot of 5e books. Almost everything we do, if we do it in BX, we're doing it in 5e. And if we're producing a 5e book, we're going to do a BX or classic D&D version of it. We've done that forever. We rarely do one targeted specifically at one or the other. So we've seen that. We talk to people, and we love going to conventions and talking to people. And, a lot of people play 5e, and a lot of them, we talk to a lot of GMs because first of all, who's buying our products? The GMs are buying our products. The players generally aren't buying adventure modules. It's the GMs who are doing it. And, they'll see all our old school stuff on the table and they're like, oh, I'd love to buy some of them. And then my players want to play old school. They all want to play 5e. And we've heard that for years. So we know people are playing it. Unfortunately, again, we've just seen a significant fall off in the support of product for 5e. And again, I don't think it's for any reason that we're doing something different or another company's doing something different. It's just that's been the natural degradation. And then there's a lot of other stuff to play too. I mean, people have kind of split, and there's a lot of Shadow Dark players out there. There's a lot of people playing, Tales
I would say in the D&D space, I'm not talking about, because role-playing games covers a lot of ground.
Yeah.
In the D&D space, Shadow Dark is the success story of the past, couple of years. I mean, it's just...
without question. It's
everybody loves it. It's very hard to find somebody that'll say bad things about Shadow Dark. Kelsey is a great ambassador for her own product, right? She's very likable, friendly, going to cons, very supportive of the hobby. Shadow Dark, I would say, is the success story of the last couple of years for people who like D&D stuff.
Yeah, especially when you talk to people that are kind of on the OSR side of things too. It's easy to gravitate into Shadow Dark. It's got a lot of things that people.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, because it's not technically OSR, but it feels like you're playing OSR.
It's not OSR at all. I'll say it flat out. It's not OSR at all. But it
feels like OSR.
It's got a great aesthetic. It's got an aesthetic that we find attractive as OSR players.
It's a streamlined version of 5e, is all it is.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but it's got an aesthetic dropped on top of it.
100%. Yeah, it's 5e ultralight. I mean, it's exactly what it is,
and it works really well.
I mean, I'll say it flat out. Can't take anything away from it. Not no, one bit.
It's I played it, enjoyed it, I bought it. But it's not even OSR, but it just drops with a perfect fit into an OSR focused convention. It just pops right in.
1,000%. Like I said, for us, it's with Vampire Queen, I think it's a really good fit for that.
Let's finish here. What is your, and I know that Shadow Dark is one of the versions that you're going to do. So Vampire Queen. So what are your plans for this big, you get Kickstartering? I think you said 3 different. So tell us, let's finish on here. Like, what are you doing with Vampire Queen, and when can we expect it?
So what you're going to expect is it'll be early fall. Again, the Pick a Path books are going to launch here in the within the next 2 weeks. That'll run about 30 days. So that Kickstarter will end sometime in August. We'll probably give it about 30 days roughly. So you're looking at most likely a Vampire Queen launch probably in September through Kickstarter. And shortly after that, we're going to be doing the Homes launch. And then after that, we're doing the Dungeon X launch. So we're about every 45, 60 days, we're doing a very large project launch. But so with Vampire Queen, what you're going to see with this and what we're doing with it is I keep mentioning it's going to be big. So it's not just the 5-level Vampire Queen dungeon. It is actually the Rune Keep that's above it. It's her lands region around it. It is a full-on campaign adventure set, and you're going to have multiple ways to buy this thing. It's not just going to be one. You can buy one solid, big, thick book, but really it's probably going to be 2 books minimum. But we're going to have breakup setups too, so there'll be different options in the Kickstarter to purchase it different ways. But we're going to have giant campaign maps. You can start at first level and run through the whole thing and play it all out, or you can pick bits and pieces of it out and just say, I kind of want to run just the classic 5 levels and go for it. We'll have that as an option within it, but the presentation is going to be large, and it is pretty much a campaign adventure with lots of options: wilderness adventure, dungeon adventure, and a lot of other stuff I don't want to give away. But there's going to be a lot to it. We're super excited. The cover art's already done. A lot of the art's already done, but the cover is absolutely fantastic.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. So that Kickstarter will be coming in the fall-ish.
So it will be, I want to say it's going to be, I get in trouble when I start throwing dates out because Ben gets mad at me. So
you should launch that bad boy on October 31st.
No, it'll probably end around October 31st, I think is the goal. So, or a little bit after. It gets dicey because, again, we get into the technical side of things and the business side of things. Once you get into Thanksgiving season, Thanksgiving through Christmas, Kickstarters are awful.
Yeah, they plummet. Yeah,
so,
darn that business side of things.
Darn that business side of things. But that, like I said, we kind of have a plan. Like I said, it's probably gonna launch most likely sometime in late September, maybe October 1st, something like that, or 1st through the 5th.
All right.
Something like that. It just depends. We have we want to kind of time it up with Long Con, but we start pushing this out a little bit because Long Con's, I think the 7th through 10th-ish of November. So, but I think we're going to have to move it up because, again, we've got our home set that we got to do, which is another giant campaign set adventure, and then we've got Dungeon X right behind that.
I'm excited about Dungeon X too. That sounds really cool. So,
and then Gamma X right behind that. So
nice. So Gamma World basically, but Gamma X, right? Okay.
Yep. And that's essentially done, but we're holding off till Dungeon X is ready.
That's cool.
Which I know.
Are you gonna do Metamorphosis X?
Nope. It's just Gamma X. So Gamma X is essentially it's Gamma World aesthetic of 1E, 2E-ish Gamma World. From TSR, but again, using our Dungeon X rules, which are very easy, by the way, freak people out. But it's but we're super, super excited about Gamma X.
It just sounds cool too, really Gamma cool. X.
Yeah, we got a whole line because we're going to be doing Gunfighter X about a year after that, which is our Boot Hill.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love all the stuff you have in store. So I have to ask, I'm going to get in trouble with the Modern Sensibilities crowd, but my inner 13-year-old has to ask, when it comes to the Vampire Queen, is she hot?
Of course she is. But okay, so she's hot, but she's classy. I'll put it to you that way. We are, for people out there again who aren't familiar, Pacesetter is we're kind of a PG-13 game company.
Yeah.
Our stuff is, we don't 95% of the stuff.
You're not Lamentations of the Flame.
We are not. No, and we don't want to be. And again, nothing against any of those things. We know what we do well, and I think we know. We know.
No, they have their audience. They know their audience
for sure, and our audience knows us, and they have expectations of us, right? And I think people know what to expect when you get a Pacesetter project. I mean, we try to be one of the most innovative companies out there as far as what we do. But we also want to keep everything kind of like family friendly. I mean, it's just kind of who we are. And again,
which I dig that.
You're not going to find us in the modern culture war stuff at all. We don't cater to anyone like that, and we don't. Honestly, we just don't care. I mean, I guess that's the easiest way for me to put it.
Well, you just want to publish adventures.
We want to publish adventures. We want you to have fun playing it. Okay, we're not going to inject anything other than that into our games, and that's what we do at Pacesetter, and we've always done that. So if you've ever bought anything from us, you know what to expect. So
just a good rousing adventure.
Yep, and you know what? We look at, like I said, 90% of the stuff that we produce, you could round up 5 or 6 10-year-olds and play it, and you're not going to have any. Right. You're not going to have to worry about their parents coming after you. Right. So,
which is cool because there's, it's a beautiful thing out there. There's other companies that cater to different sensibilities. So if they want that, they can go buy the other stuff, like Lamentations of a Flame Princess.
That's right. Think of us as at the lower end Scooby Doo, at the higher end kind of the Goonies. We're in there. That's kind of our thing. So. Yeah, and even with even as crazy as Vampire Queen sounds, like, oh my gosh, no, do not think of the crazy vampire stuff that really attach a whole lot of romanticy to vampire stuff. That is not us, and that's honestly that is the farthest thing from this Vampire Queen that exists. She is, and I know I talk about her like she's a real person, but we've put so much work into this. She kind of, is real as a D&D villain can be. I think she is, and we want to make her. I present her anyway as just the consummate villain, right?
And the bad guy.
Yeah, we don't. She's not we don't want to make her an object. That would be the easy thing for us to do. Right? It would be the super easy thing to do, to make her kind of like the Farrah Fawcett sex symbol. Right. No. Now there's some of that because it's gaming, but it's no. She's honestly so much more than that. And when like I said, when this thing comes out, I think people will see that for what it is. She is a villain in every sense of the word, and she's a very, very smart villain. Your players are going to hate her, absolutely hate her.
Well, good.
Which is what every good villain should do.
Maybe we'll get fan fiction on the Vampire Queen versus Strahd.
Yeah, no.
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 Would she own him?
She would own him. She would definitely own Strahd.
All right. So Palace of the Vampire Queen, folks, be looking for. I mean, you could buy editions of stuff related to Palace of the Vampire Queen 50th anniversary, first published module for a tabletop role-playing game, much less D&D, at Pacesetter Games right now.
Yep.
But so if you're interested in checking out what the first module was like, go to Pacesetter Games. You can check that out right now.
Yeah, you can check out. So what we have, I'm not sure if we have that reprint available. I think we've already pulled it.
I think I saw that it was, but
it might be in one of the products. So we have the tournament books are all available, which gives you a lot of good taste on the different levels. Blood Tower is on our website, and a couple other things. But yeah, it's all most of that's going to wind up getting honestly pulled down as the Kickstarter approaches.
Okay, so there's that. It's 50th anniversary. I'm trying to find the. I know I saw it. Okay, yeah, it's Tower. Like you said, Tower's out there. Yeah. Tower of the Vampire Queen is under the BX RPG. So, and then you've got the pick and play books coming up. Yep. Kickstarter. Check out that.
Yeah, so choose your own adventure. They're great, and like I said, we're really excited about those. They're fun. Going to be really, really fun reads. There's multiple paths through them, so you got a lot of readability. I think there's a lot of value to that.
Nice.
To those books.
Okay, so I got to do this as we wrap up. It is a tradition on Shane Plays Geek Talk. Got to do the bad joke of the week, even though this isn't a weekly podcast. Bad joke of the week just has such a great ring to it. So I picked out these jokes in honor of the Vampire Queen, Bill.
Beautiful.
I want you to know this. These are in honor of the Vampire Queen. So here's the first one. Why don't vampires get invited to parties?
I don't know.
They're a pain in the neck. Did that hurt a little bit? Did it do some psychic damage? Okay, good.
Just a little.
That's good. You're not supposed to enjoy them. It's a bad joke of the week. All right. What happens when two vampires race?
You got me again.
They finish neck and neck. There you go.
We're getting painful now.
Yep. So, and you'll appreciate this as a business person, Bill.
All
right. I'm thinking about a startup that provides vampire slaying services. I'm looking for stakeholders.
No. Beautiful.
There you go. Roll 1d4 psychic damage.
Yeah, I took it. I took a 4. I'm not going to roll.
Took it? Yeah, you just took it all. You didn't even attempt your save.
No.
All right, Bill, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Shane, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, well, thanks. I mean, I always enjoy visiting with you. I appreciate that, you're trying to not only put out product, but also, put out stuff that is important to the hobby at times. I know you've done other reproductions, like you had another Wii Warriors game called Embattled Trek that you did a reproduction of and stuff like that. So, and from a business standpoint, a lot of people, when they do that, they know they're not going to make a lot of money. They're trying to honor the past and keep the memory alive of some of this stuff. So, I think that's great that you do that. So
I appreciate that. Like I said, we're going to do it regardless of how successful we're going to be, because it's what we love to do.
Yep.
And 2, we think it's important for a lot of things are important for the hobby. So
yeah, I agree.
All the above.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, and everybody else. We will catch you next time on Shane Plays. Thanks so much for listening to Shane Plays Geek Talk. I certainly hope you enjoyed this journey into the things we love. For your convenience, show notes with helpful links for each episode can always be found at shaneplays.com. You can catch the podcast in several places, including on the blog at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Podbean, Amazon Music, Verbal, YouTube, and more. If you like what you hear and would like to support Shane Plays Geek Talk, you can do so for as little as $1 per episode on Patreon at patreon.com/Shane Plays. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. Stay geeky, my friends.